Let's go to our first guest of the evening, and he is none other than Andrew Breitbart. Andrew, how you doing?
You want to know the truth? I'm sick as a dog. Ever since the Weinergate thing started, I started to pick up a cough, a hacking cough, I kid you not. And I was in traffic on Sepulveda coming up to my place up here in West Los Angeles, and I pulled a muscle in my rib, near my rib cage. And so every time I cough now, the pain in that space is, I'd say on a 1 to 10 scale, about an 8.8.
Andrew, how did you pull a muscle in traffic?
I was just driving, and the cough was so deep.
Oh.
And it's just something, I just felt it. I'm like, oh, man. And now it's just brutal.
That is brutal. That was the exact word I was going to use.
I was on CBS News last night, and, friends called up and said, oh, my God, you looked terrible. I go, I was so under the weather, you have no idea. I thought that I was going to start talking about, corn giblets in outer space.
Well, I'll tell you, the only reason I'm in here tonight, because I feel pretty crummy, the only reason is because of you and O'Keefe tonight. It was just, you guys are too big to pass up.
Is O'Keefe in town?
He's doing, well...
He's not allowed to.
Well, I was going to say, talk about a setup question.
Yeah. Don't say anything.
Yeah. So, what's on your radar? First of all, let me just...
What's on my radar? What do you think? Anthony Weiner something.
Yeah. What's your take on all this?
My take is that my book, Righteous Indignation, is being played out right now, how the Democrat media complex is going into a reflexive defense mode. This is a guy who called this a hack on Friday night. A hack warrants a response from federal authorities according to the Congressional Handbook, and 3 days of calling it a hack, Salon Magazine and the Daily Kos and Talking Points Memo have been in a lie escapade of epic proportion. Salon said that I savaged the girl. We did not announce her name. That was liberal website Gawker that announced her. Yet we're blamed for it. The Daily Kos, whose founder is always on Meet the Press, I'm not. What has he ever broken? They're claiming that I hacked. They're claiming forthrightly that I hacked Congressman Weiner's Twitter account or what have you. It's interesting, don't you think? Well, first of all, for 72 hours, that was unmet with anything from Congressman Weiner until he came back on Monday,
exactly,
having lawyered up and said, it was just a prank. Just a prank. Well, it was a prank hack. A hack, prank hack. They're two separate things. It's apples and oranges. A hack is a malignant and an illegal activity that warrants an investigation, and a prank is tee-hee, 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 tee-hee. He can't have it both ways, and he goes out there on TV yesterday, and he blames me for everything. So their Democrat media complex, the natural alliance of the mainstream media, and the Democratic Party is out there trying to push that I'm somehow behind it, even though the culpability is clearly on him. Everybody knows he's lying through his teeth.
Yeah, this, and you're right. Your book, Righteous Indignation, this, you could not have asked for I don't mean to sound perverse here, but you could not have asked for a better script, Andrew.
There's no accountability for these lies. Tonight, Talking Points Memo has talked about how in the Smoking Gun today, some emails from one of the people who's been out there close to Patriot USA 76, who retweeted the offending image. His friend on Twitter, there have been emails between me and one of those people, and somebody forwarded them, and there was a chain. And Talking Points Memo is saying they came from me, which is saying that I, turned in a source.
I'm looking at Talking Points Memo right now.
Right, they're saying, and I'm like, it's patently not true. These guys talk about me being a liar, and I've said I'll debate you anytime, anywhere you find a lie that I've ever reported. But they're allowed to say it over and over. Since last Friday, all they've done is lie. All they've done is lie, and there's no accountability. Salon Magazine is right now pushing that I'm behind, leaking my sources' emails, which would dry up my sources. I mean, that's going against my business model.
Right.
They're making it up. I should sue. Thanks for reminding me, Rick.
Yeah. Andrew, did you know this was how big of a story did you know you had on Saturday when this was reported on Big Government?
Well, at first, I was at my kitchen island preparing for an easy weekend, and it was maybe about 7:30. I was standing next to my wife. I think we just opened a bottle of wine and said, "Hey, let's have a weekend."
Yeah.
And I just looked at on my island, my iPad, checked my Twitter stream, saw this retweet, clicked on it, looked at the picture, and at first, because it was such a close-up of something, it was kind of an abstract. It's like, what is this? And so I kind of stared at it for about 8 seconds. And I was like, what is this thing? And I turned it around, I'm like, oh, I totally get what this is. And then I showed it to my wife, of course, because we're that type of a couple. And she was like, oh, my goodness. And she was impressed, quite frankly. And then I called up my editors, and we got into a conference call, and we went into an investigative mode to find out the authenticity of the tweet, whether it came from his accounts. We were able to affirm that. While we were doing that, we noticed that he was erasing all of his even innocuous pictures. He erased the offending pic, the erection pic, the innocuous pics of him, doing constituency services. I don't believe that the offensive pic is part of a constituency services, but it is part of outreach. But, so
what is going through this guy's mind?
Well, let me say what then happened.
Yep.
You're wondering, that if anyone on the left found this from somebody on the right, it would be on ABC, CBS, or NBC.
Good point.
But you're thinking to yourself, but if I put this out there and show it's from his account, they're going to make it about me and say it's just about the sex. It's just about the sex, and Republicans are panty sniffers because that's what they did during Clinton and Lewinsky. Doesn't matter that the left obsessed with Larry Craig making gay jokes left and right and toe-tapping jokes and Mark Foley jokes and John Ensign jokes and Mark Sanford jokes and what have you. But I know that there's a huge double standard. Well, that double standard was negated when we realized that he tweeted that he was hacked, that his Facebook account was hacked. And at the point that a sitting congressman who has an obligation, according to the congressional manual, says that he's been hacked, that's a story, and it granted us a context that we felt very strongly we could go with the story, and so we broke it around midnight West Coast time.
Aha. And I was, my wife and I were in Palm Springs over the weekend chilling, so I missed all this till I got back.
I ended up going to La Quinta for Saturday and Sunday and tried to pretend like I was on vacation, but it was nonstop accusations of hacking a congressman's cell phone. And I think it's interesting that his supporters are calling me a hacker, and he doesn't want an investigation into this. I'm like, okay, guys, I want an investigation, and he doesn't. And your Agatha Christie, aluminum cap doesn't lead you towards his culpability and not mine.
The whole thing, the whole idea of him doing this is so friggin' creepy. I don't know how else to say it. It's just creepy. Where's this going from here, Andrew?
Well, look, the media likes to cover up things for Democrats. That's what my book is about. But I got to give a huge caveat here.
Yeah.
When your name is Weiner, and you put your wiener out there, it almost erases every rule in my book. I'm not kidding you. You could tell the reporters' zeal. They're like, wow, we have to cover this thing because the double entendres are flowing from our tongues, And so I felt bad for him because he thought, as he started to go out there to the press, that he was going to go to the crowd that he's used to manipulating for political purposes, who act as stenographers. And the person who was phenomenal was CNN's Dana Bash, and she just kept hitting him and grilling him and asking the right questions, and he didn't know what to do, and eventually he called her producer a jackass. And I think that you tie that with what happened this evening when one of the top political reporters in New York City, a female reporter, I forget her name, Marcia, she's very well known, went down to the office and and they called the police on her. You know something's going wrong when the press are really saying, okay, you've pushed us too far. And I think that my personal belief is where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the story you just described with the New York City reporter, who I'm trying to find her name right now.
Oh, just go to Breitbart TV. It's there.
Okay. That's where we'll go. Andrew, we won't keep you. We know you're sick, like yours truly here. Just give a quick shout out. You and I will be together this next coming weekend at the big conference, the Eagle Forum Conference.
Is it this weekend?
It is June 10 and 11.
Oh, okay, good, because I'm going to be in North Carolina this weekend. Her name is Marcia Kramer, by the way.
Marcia Kramer.
That's next weekend. Yeah, I'll be down there. You know what's so strange about that event?
Tell me.
I live in West Los Angeles. It's about an hour and a half to get down to San Diego, at most 2 hours.
Yep.
They have me on a flight to go down there. In my 42 years, I've never flown from Los Angeles to San Diego.
Well, you and I and everyone else all know that it'll be longer to fly down than it will be to drive down.
Is that bizarre? And I'm doing it just to experience what it's like to fly into that field. Lindbergh Field?
Yeah, it's a very, very pleasant airport as far as airports go, by the way.
Well, why haven't they changed the name? I mean, we're not allowed to call, people get offended by, the names of mascots. I mean, Charles Lindbergh is one of the world's great anti-Semites, and a Nazi sympathizer. I hate to give that. That's crazy.
Now, did he not, near the final days, recant those views and say that?
I'm not sure. I'd like to know that, because I'd like to hold him in a higher esteem, because nobody holds in higher esteem people who fly transatlantically from one place to the next.
Well, we'll look that up. I think it may be possible. He had some negative views also on blacks, and I know he took those views back, saying that he was wrong in being a segregationist. I'm assuming it was the same with the Jewish people, but we'll look that up.
If not, I'm going to raise some hell when I land a week from a week from today or something.
You know why it's called Lindbergh Field?
I don't.
The plane that he flew, from New York to Paris, was built right here in San Diego.
Oh, wow. Well, I have a rich history. My family, the Breitbart family with a D, related, and the late great Bob Breitbart created the Sports Hall of Fame.
I'm very familiar with
Balboa Park.
Yeah.
And I was able to go to two really great events that he invited me to in my youth. One was the 1978 All-Star Game, and I remember seeing Randy Jones there, and Steve Garvey. And then I went to, I think, the 1979 Holiday Bowl, where Brigham Young with Jim McMahon played.
Was that a Penn State game by chance?
I don't remember. I remember it could have been. It was 1979, and he was just a jolly old guy, and he was very close with Ted Williams. And when I would go down there, I couldn't believe that this guy was the epicenter of the San Diego sports experience. I mean, and I will say this: I'm a huge Dodger fan, but my favorite baseball player, the one that I relate to the most and just admired, beyond what you can possibly imagine, was Tony Gwynn.
Oh,
so
yeah.
San Diego is kind of a special place for me.